This is A World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. Another Monday Fallout, where the weekend's lies meet Monday's reality. From DC to across the globe, the fallout is everywhere, and I'm not here to sugarcoat a damn thing. Okay, here we go. I'm opening with the kind of legal insanity that reminds me why this country has turned into a circus without the popcorn. A federal judge just made a ruling on two cases, and that judge has wiped out the indictments against Letitia James and James Comey. Not because of evidence, not because of facts, not because anyone suddenly found Jesus on the courthouse steps. No, these charges collapsed because the prosecutor Halligan, who brought them, wasn't even legally appointed. That's right. The whole thing was signed by someone, the indictments against these two, who legally wasn't a prosecutor. Here's the part that sounds like it came out of a rejected Saturday Night Live sketch. Lindsay Halligan didn't just magically appear. She didn't fall out of the sky and land in a courtroom holding a briefcase. She was hand-delivered by Donald Trump's Justice Department. Gift-wrapped, bow on top, Trump pushed her into a United States attorney role even though she had never been a prosecutor and didn't meet the requirements. She was an insurance attorney, and the legal appointment window had already expired. She had no authority, none. She was basically a legal hologram. But Trump's people kept her in the chair anyway because he wanted someone who would go after his enemies. And Halligan went straight for the two people Trump hates most. James Comey, Letitia James. She filed the charges. Halligan signed indictments. She pretended she had authority. And then a federal judge said this whole thing is illegal. This whole thing is invalid. This whole thing is an abuse of executive power. Donald Trump. Let me tell you what that means. She had as much legal authority as a mall cop with a flashlight trying to arrest the Easter Bunny. Zero. And once the judge ruled her appointment unlawful, everything she touched evaporated. The indictments disappeared faster than Rudy Giuliani's hair dye on a hot day. Comey had been charged with making false statements to Congress. Letitia James had been charged with bank-related offenses. And none of it mattered because the person who brought the charges didn't have the legal right to bring anything. The judge said her actions were invalid from the second she stepped into the office. That's courtroom talk, for this whole thing was political theater pretending to be a prosecution. Letitia James said it was political retaliation. Comey said it was punishment. And now a federal judge basically said they were right. The court didn't even get to guilt or innocence because the foundation of the case was illegal before anyone walked into the building. Can the government refile these charges? Sure. In the same way you can put your hand back in a hot stove, even if after it burns you. You can do it, but you're an idiot if you try. And here's my bottom line, listener. The rule of law only works when people in charge follow the law themselves. Donald Trump tried to twist the justice system by installing someone who wasn't legally allowed to hold the position. A federal judge stopped that. And this is why checks and balances matter. Because without them, you don't have a justice. You don't have a system. You have a former reality show host stuffing the courts with people who aren't legally qualified to prosecute a parking ticket. This is why the country feels like it's spinning. This is why the phrase "a world gone mad" isn't a title, it's a diagnosis. What the hell is happening to this country? I'm watching Trump's people behave like they're living in some fantasy kingdom where loyalty to him outranks loyalty to the Constitution. And now we've reached a point where we're watching the Pentagon, who is threatening to drag Senator Mark Kelly back into military service. Let me repeat that. The Pentagon wants to bring Senator Mark Kelly back into military service. If you haven't seen this, why? So they can court-martial him. Not making this up. A sitting senator, a retired Navy captain, a guy who served this country in combat. And why? Because he told troops the truth. He told them they don't have to obey illegal orders. That's it. That's the whole crime. He reminded the military of the oath they already took. And somehow that's now worthy of punishment. Court-martial, Pentagon. This is what happens when a political movement turns into a cult. Trump's people treat him like a king. They're terrified of upsetting him. They're kissing his ass so hard that these supporters can't breathe. And they've convinced themselves that anybody who speaks the truth is automatically committing treason. Think about how insane this is. If someone had said 10 years ago that a United States senator could be recalled into uniform and threatened with a court-martial for reminding the military to follow the Constitution, you'd say that person was drunk or out of their mind. But here we are. Trump's loyalists want vengeance. They want obedience. They want the military to operate like his personal security force. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. This isn't about discipline. This isn't about protecting troops. This isn't about the chain of command. This is about power, pure power. The kind of power a wannabe dictator, Trump, demands when he expects every institution to kneel. Kelly didn't kneel. Kelly told the truth. Kelly said soldiers don't have to follow illegal orders. And Trump's people reacted like he burned down their house. These people want a military that doesn't think. They want troops who don't hesitate. They want a country where the president snaps his fingers and everyone salutes without questioning a damn thing. And anyone who reminds the troops that the Constitution outranks the man sitting behind the desk in the Oval Office becomes an enemy of the state. I want you, the listener, to sit with how dangerous that is. Because once a government starts recalling elected officials to punish them, you've crossed the Rubicon. That's not democracy. That's not stability. That's not checks and balances. That's the exact playbook the authoritarian governments use when they're cleaning house. And you want to know the real reason Trump's people are going after Kelly? Because it scares them to death that anyone might even plant even one seed of independent thought inside the military. They can't handle the idea that soldiers might follow the Constitution instead of their cult leader they worship. They're terrified of losing control, so they lash out. They scream treason, and they try to weaponize military justice, the Pentagon, like it's a political toy. This country isn't falling apart because of one crisis. It's falling apart because people in power are bending every institution to protect Trump's ego. And if you're willing to court-martial a senator for reminding the troops of their oath, then you're not defending America, you're dismantling it. This is what a world gone mad looks like. Not metaphorically, literally. I'm watching this presidency fall apart piece by piece, and nothing shows the incompetence better than the mess around healthcare. The White House was supposed to unveil a brand new plan to lower healthcare costs. Big promise, big reveal, big fix. And then the White House, Trump, postpones it again. This White House can't even roll out the thing Donald Trump has bragged about for years. It's embarrassing. This is what you get with a president who keeps swearing he'll replace Obamacare with something incredible. But Donald Trump never understands a thing about how healthcare actually works. Every time Trump talks about this stuff, he says he has a concept of a plan. A concept of a plan. Let me tell you something. Concept of a plan isn't a plan. A concept of a plan is paper thin. It's empty. It shows Trump has no intelligence on this topic and absolutely no clue what he's doing. No surprise. People don't need a concept. People need insulin. People need cancer treatments. People need affordable premiums. People need to not go bankrupt when they end up in an ER. And Trump's answer to all of that is some vague idea floating in his head that he can't put on paper because the moment he does, it falls apart. That's the level of thinking Donald Trump brings to this issue. The White House postpones this health care announcement because everyone around Trump knows whatever he's got in his brain is a disaster. If Trump had something strong to replace Obamacare, they'd release it. If Trump had something that helped people, they'd shout it from a rooftop. Instead, they delay because every time this administration messes with health care, they either kick millions off insurance or jack up the costs. They don't want the public to see the truth. The truth is Donald Trump and his team are clueless. The Affordable Care Act isn't perfect, but it functions. It covers people. It exists in the real world. Trump keeps promising something better, but what he really offers is chaos with a ribbon on it. The administration hypes a major announcement and then panic at the last second because they know it's garbage. This is exactly what happens when Donald Trump screams about repealing Obamacare for 8 years and still can't do his homework. We're watching a presidency crumble in slow motion. Trump can't handle policy. Trump can't handle the many crises. And Trump can't even handle this one issue he's been yelling about since the day he came down the escalator. This White House talks like they're geniuses, but acts like they're lost. Here's my bottom line. If Donald Trump can't put together a real health care plan after years of promises, then he isn't leading. He isn't fixing anything. He isn't reforming anything. He's stumbling. And this country deserves better than a president who thinks the concept of a plan is enough to run a nation. And to top everything off, I've now reached the point where I can't believe what I'm hearing anymore. Donald Trump rolled out his so-called peace plan for Ukraine, you know. It's not a peace plan, it's a surrender document. It's a gift basket before the holidays for Vladimir Putin. It's 28 points of pure lunacy that tell Ukraine to give up its future, hand over stolen territory, shrink its military, and stay out of NATO forever. That isn't peace. That's capitulation. And Donald Trump delivers this thing to Zelensky like some mob boss with a stopwatch. Take it or leave it. Do it this week. Do it now, or you're on your own. That's how Trump talks to a country fighting for its survival against an invading dictator. No understanding of global security, no respect for alliances, no clue how the world actually works. Just threats and chest pounding from Donald. And here's where it gets surreal. The rest of the world takes one look at this deranged plan and instantly knows Donald Trump has no idea what the hell he's talking about. The European Union today and yesterday starts scrambling behind the scenes. Serious leaders in Europe understand the danger. Zelensky knows this entire thing is a disaster. Even lawmakers here, including Marco Rubio, can see this plan makes zero sense and would put Ukraine and Europe in immediate danger. It's like the adults in the room are huddled in a corner, whispering to each other about how to fix the mess Donald the toddler just created. They're trying to make sure the world doesn't collapse because Donald Trump had another one of his I alone can fix it moments that always ends with Trump breaking something important. This is what happens when a man who thinks foreign policy is a reality show decides he can redraw the map of Eastern Europe by handing Putin everything he wants. Donald Trump is acting like he's negotiating the sale of a golf resort. Putin is acting like he's negotiating the borders of a continent. One of these men knows exactly what he's doing. The other is Donald Trump. Zelensky isn't stupid. The man knows that accepting Trump's plan would destroy Ukraine. European countries know that if Ukraine is forced to surrender, Putin doesn't stop. Putin moves on to the next country, and the next one after that, and the next one after that. That's why the real leaders are quietly trying to build protections that will outlast Trump's chaos. So what's really happening here? The responsible nations are trying to create a safety net because they know Donald Trump can't be trusted with the world's stability. They know he's unpredictable. They know he's volatile. They know he's craving praise from Putin. And they know his plan would put millions of people at risk. This isn't diplomacy. This isn't strategy. This is a president who is in way over his head while grown adults rush to protect Europe from the fallout. And that's the terrifying part. The people with actual judgment are trying to keep the world standing while Donald Trump keeps proving he has no business shaping the future of any nation. And that's your Monday Fallout. You know how to reach me. I've given you my email address and my toll-free number multiple times. It's up to you to use them. Please don't forget about my show streaming live this Tuesday, 9:15 p.m. It's interactive with others. I had one listener from this podcast show up. Thank you. I want to thank you very much. I hope to see more of you there. And if you'd like to contribute with a small donation to this podcast before the holidays, I have a link below each description of every episode. One listener helped out. I truly appreciate her. Thank you. It really does help. This is The World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. I'll be back Wednesday. Until then, Wolfpack listeners, remain skeptical, keep focused, but most of all, stay hopeful.